How one woman cured her fibromyalgia without drugs and now moves pain-free. She was only 48 when it began. At first it was just a simple fever, the kind that comes and goes. But in the weeks that followed, something felt wrong. Barbara couldn't explain it. Her body ached in ways it never had before. Her legs throbbed, her arms burned. Even a soft summer breeze brushing against her skin made her wince in pain. She thought it would go away, but it didn't. Instead, for the next 7 years, Barbara Sinclair lived a private kind of hell, one where pain was her constant companion. Tasks like brushing her hair, tying her shoes, even reaching for a cup became unbearable. The doctors gave it a name, fibromyalgia, but they couldn't give her relief. She tried everything: painkillers, sleeping pills, muscle relaxants. One medication led to another and another. Her nights were sleepless, her thoughts foggy, her heart heavy. It wasn't just her body that was breaking down, it was her spirit. And yet something changed. Not with a new drug or surgery or some miracle clinic, but with a cup of tea. Yes, a simple herbal tea turned out to be the first thread that unraveled her suffering. It wouldn't be easy and it wouldn't be quick, but it was the start of something real. What happened next? Well, it wasn't magic. It was something more powerful. A woman reclaiming her life, one small, quiet step at a time. Fibromyalgia isn't like a broken bone or a bruised knee. You can't see it on an X-ray. There's no blood test that proves it. And yet it's real, painfully real. It's a chronic condition that causes widespread pain throughout the body. But it's more than just pain. It brings with it a storm of symptoms. Fatigue that doesn't go away with rest, sleepless nights, memory fog, digestive issues, mood swings, and even anxiety and depression. For many, it feels like their body has turned against them, and no one truly understands. Roughly 1 in 50 Americans will experience fibromyalgia at some point in their lives, and nearly 90% of them are women. The condition doesn't always have a clear cause. Sometimes it's triggered by physical trauma, other times by infection, surgery, or even prolonged emotional stress. In some cases, it seems to appear out of nowhere. And because it's often misunderstood, fibromyalgia sufferers are frequently dismissed, misdiagnosed, or told it's all in your head. Barbara heard those words too. But deep down, she knew what she felt was real. Her body was screaming. And it was time someone listened, including herself. Barbara did what most of us would do. She went to the doctor, and then to another, and another. She followed every instruction, took every prescription, tried every therapy insurance would cover. First came the pain relievers, then sleep medications, then muscle relaxants. The pills multiplied, but the pain stayed. Worse, the side effects began to pile up: grogginess during the day, digestive issues, dizziness, and a growing sense of detachment from her own life. She was numbing everything just to survive. Doctors offered little more than sympathetic nods and new dosages. Some even questioned her as if her pain was exaggerated. One specialist casually said, "You just need to learn to live with it." But Barbara knew that wasn't living. She didn't want a life spent managing symptoms. She wanted freedom, the ability to move, sleep, laugh, walk in the sun without wincing in pain. And she began to suspect something. What if the answer wasn't in more medication, but in something her body had been missing all along? It was this quiet question, this whisper of hope, that led her to a different path, one that no doctor had ever offered. Barbara's shift didn't happen overnight. It began with frustration, but also with curiosity. A friend suggested she visit a chiropractor who specialized in gentle treatments. She was skeptical, but also desperate, so she went. Instead of being handed another prescription, she was given something surprisingly simple: light massage, gentle spinal adjustments, and acupuncture. No harsh techniques, no quick promises, just careful, respectful attention to the body. Week after week, the sessions brought small relief. Nothing dramatic, but Barbara felt lighter, calmer, like her nervous system was exhaling for the first time in years. One day, her chiropractor said something unexpected. Instead of Ambien, why not try St. John's wort tea at night? Barbara almost laughed. How could a cup of tea replace a prescription drug? But she tried it. And within 2 weeks, something remarkable happened. She started sleeping again. Not perfectly, not every night, but enough to feel human again. Her pain eased slightly. Her thoughts became clearer. That little win changed everything. She realized that healing didn't have to be loud. It didn't need to come in a bottle with side effects. Sometimes healing was quiet, a tea, a touch, a breath reminding the body what balance feels like. And now she wanted more. Not just less pain, but deeper healing. Something more lasting. Something that would lead her to a system older than any prescription pad. Ayurveda. Ayurveda wasn't something Barbara found in a clinic brochure. It was whispered to her gently by a colleague who had once faced his own health crisis. It's not just medicine, he told her. It's a different way of understanding the body. Intrigued, Barbara began reading. She learned that Ayurveda, the ancient healing system of India, didn't treat diseases the way Western medicine did. It didn't just ask what was wrong, it asked why the body had become unbalanced in the first place. Still, it wasn't easy. Finding a skilled Ayurvedic practitioner took months, and when she finally did, the process was nothing like she expected. There were no pills, no tests, just questions, lots of them, about her routines, her food, her emotions, her history. And one sentence from her doctor stuck with her like a quiet drumbeat. Your body took years to fall out of balance. It will take time to return. That humbled her. She realized she had been chasing fast fixes for a slow-burning problem. So Barbara made a decision. She would commit fully, patiently, wholeheartedly. She adjusted her diet, followed a daily rhythm of waking, eating, resting, introduced warm herbal oils, calming teas, gentle yoga. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy, but it was intentional. And for the first time in years, Barbara felt like she wasn't fighting her body, she was listening to it. Barbara had committed to the routines, the herbs, the diet. And slowly her physical body began to respond. But there was still something lingering, a kind of heaviness that refused to lift. That's when her Ayurvedic doctor shifted the focus. He asked her gently, "What are you holding on to?" At first she didn't understand. But the more she listened to her body, the more memories began to surface, grief she had buried, stress. She had ignored expectations she had silently carried for years. Barbara began to realize. Her illness wasn't just physical. It was emotional. It was energetic. The pain wasn't just in her muscles. It was in the stories she had never told, the losses she had never processed, the guilt she had never released. Ayurveda gave her permission to go inward. She journaled. She cried. She forgave. She spoke truths aloud that had lived in silence for decades. And with each release, something inside her softened. Her body responded. The pain, once sharp and stubborn, began to shift, as if finally being heard. She no longer saw fibromyalgia as a curse. It had become a messenger, a signal that something deeper inside needed care. For Barbara, this was the most unexpected gift of all. I wasn't just healing my pain. I was healing my story. Just as Barbara was beginning to understand the emotional roots of her illness, life threw her a curveball. Her trusted Ayurvedic doctor left town unexpectedly. She felt lost again. The steady rhythm she had built began to unravel. But then, like a whisper in the dark, a friend mentioned a healer she had once seen in India, a revered Tibetan Buddhist physician named Yeshi Dandan, known for treating thousands with only his eyes and hands. Barbara was skeptical, but something inside her nudged her forward. She arranged an appointment. The clinic was humble, the waiting room quiet. She brought a translator, unsure of what to expect. When she entered the room, Dr. Dandan looked at her once and said without hesitation, "She has pain all throughout her body. It is worse in the heat of summer and cold of winter. She cannot sleep. Her limbs are numb." Barbara froze. He had spoken the truth of her body without her saying a single word. Then he handed her a handwritten list of foods to avoid. No processed items, no cold drinks, no raw vegetables, and then a bundle of herbal medicine personalized for her. The herbs were simple, the instructions clear. Take them faithfully, stay patient, trust the process. Barbara didn't hesitate. Something in her knew. This man didn't just see her illness, he saw her, and that changed everything. Barbara followed Dr. Dandan's instructions with quiet devotion. Every morning she brewed the herbs. Every evening she avoided the foods he warned her about. There were no dramatic changes, no overnight miracles, but something subtle began to happen. Her sleep deepened. Her limbs stopped tingling. The stabbing pain that once shadowed her every move faded into a dull whisper, then silence. It took months. Some days were better than others, But she stayed the course, not chasing quick results, but honoring the process. And then one day she realized something profound. She had gone an entire week without thinking about the pain. It didn't come with fanfare. There were no fireworks, no celebration, just a quiet moment of awe, a body no longer crying out, a life no longer defined by suffering. Barbara said it best. The end wasn't as dramatic as the beginning, but it was real and it lasted. She didn't just get better, she got back to herself. And in doing so, she discovered something more valuable than any cure: a deeper relationship with her body, her emotions, and the quiet power of natural healing. Barbara's story isn't just about fibromyalgia. It's about the quiet wisdom of the body and how we forget to listen. In a world that demands quick fixes and instant relief, she learned something ancient. Healing is a conversation, not a command. Her illness taught her to slow down, to notice, to feel. Not just the pain, but the cause beneath it. The imbalance, the grief, the misalignment. She learned that sometimes the body doesn't need more medication, it needs more attention. And sometimes the most powerful medicine is letting go of past wounds, of old stories, of the belief that you're broken. Barbara found healing not by silencing her body, but by finally hearing what it had been trying to say all along. And in that surrender, she found something stronger than a cure: peace. If you or someone you love is living with chronic pain, let Barbara's journey remind you of one thing: you are not alone. And more importantly, you are not helpless. Healing doesn't always come in a bottle or a hospital room. Sometimes it comes in stillness, in herbs, in tears, in listening deeply to the wisdom within. So share this story. Someone out there might need to hear it today. And maybe, just maybe, that first step toward healing isn't about doing more. It's about finally allowing yourself to feel.